Hello and welcome to another GCS Connect Inclusion event. Today we're going to be talking to Jennifer. Jennifer's going to give us an intro about obviously her work, what she does with diversity, equity and inclusion, and also about some of the other aspects of what she gets involved with. So hello, Jennifer.
Hey Aaron, how are you? It's great to meet you.
I'm really good. Thanks for joining us. How's your day panning out so far?
So far, it's been pretty busy, and all of the things that I thought might go wrong didn't, so I'm winning.
That's always winning. Brilliant, brilliant. Jenny, do you want to just give us a bit of an intro about some of the work that you get involved in, just so that the audience has got some form of clue on who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So for my day job, I work as a manager of security engineers in 3 different groups, so UK, Ireland, and in the US, with Tenable, a cybersecurity company. But outside of that, I am the head of communications for Cyber Women Ireland. And I also am on the board for community in BBWIC, which is Breaking Borders Women in Cyber. And an ambassador for Winters, which is a global mentoring group. Now, there's a bunch of other things where I would speak and get involved, and I'm pretty much find it difficult to say no to anything that's going to be useful for diversity in tech, diversity in cyber, diversity in any shape or form, really. But they're probably my 3 main groups that I'm involved in. And then, of course, within work, I'm on the Women at Tenable committee, and have been really supportive with regards to me being involved in anything. So fantastic. That's the short version of it all. But, you know, if anyone wants the full hour, they can get in touch with me and I can fill them in and all the details.
Yeah, links are below. So, Jenny, one of the things that you've got a huge passion about is about individuals returning to work. Do you want to just give us a bit of a flavour of what made you think about this and how it came about and what you're all about with this?
Yeah. So I had thought about it myself before, but didn't know many people that were returning to work. The irony, it's not lost on me. But when I was at B-Sides in Dublin last March, I met a lady called Jan Carroll, who's also on the committee for Cyber Women Ireland. In fact, it was her that told me about it. I didn't know it existed before then. And she asked me about returnships. What did I know about them and getting involved with those? And I queried her on what exactly did she mean by a returnship? Was it what I thought it was? And what I learned from there is how vast it is, really. So after speaking to Jan, I looked into it, I got involved, and I raised it in the company I'm currently working for and anywhere else that I can. Because what I discovered from talking to people who are attempting to return to the workforce is that there is this huge pool of talent out there, and nobody seems to be tapping into it yet. And also within that huge pool of talent, there is all of the diverse groups you could possibly imagine. Like statistically, people that are become carers or stay-at-home parents and such. They're, you know, more
I'm glad that you started going down this route, because I was just about to say, so, the first thing that springs to my mind in a returnship is maybe somebody that has gone off and started a family, for example. And in this day and age, we're lucky that we can apply that to both male and female scenarios. But you're talking about a wider element of people that have been out of work. So do you want to give us a bit of a flavour on, what type of people this covers?
Yeah, so we all assume that it's going to be mums coming back, and there is a big part of that. But in many cases, what I've learned is that it's people who have cared for elderly parents or for sick relatives, or maybe they have had to take time out for mental health and look after themselves. There's lots and lots of reasons that people will step away from the workforce. And certainly prior to COVID, there was a lot more mental pressure. I think for a lot of people, being able to work from home or combine remote work or have hybrid work and, reducing the commutes, things like that have reduced some of the pressure when it comes to work. And those are the kind of things that would have massively impacted mental health and families and caring and all of those things, which meant that people often find themselves in a position where they have to choose one or the other. You can't have both a career and do these things. And if you do these things 10 years ago, going to do it was a death sentence to your career. And speaking to a lot of people who are looking for returnships in business now, they still are concerned that it's the death knell for their career. Am I done? Do I have to start all over again? I was the top of my game 10 years ago. Is that no use to anybody anymore? And absolutely it is of use to people. And it's about, the biggest challenge I find is within all of the workplaces that are considering it, and even those that haven't considered it yet, is how to show them that they're committed to returnships, and that, how to find a company that's committed to returnships. That's the interesting part. So one of the things that the company that I work in, Tenable, has done recently is we had like an open night. It went on for a couple of hours and we hosted virtual stalls, and I talked to a lot of people about returnships, what their expectations were, what they were coming back from, what they wanted to do. That was really eye-opening for me, even about the kinds of people who were out on leave. I, like most people, assumed they were all parents, that there wasn't other reasons for it. And that taught me a lesson or two from that. But what the majority of them were consistent in reporting is that it wasn't clear in any job application or any job that was being advertised that it was suitable for somebody returning to work. Was there a possibility of job sharing? Was there a possibility of increasing your time over weeks or months so that somebody could get used to a full-time job again, going back to work? Was their previous career choice and training still relevant? How did they top it up? Do you
think that there's a stigma attached to anybody that's taken time out, regardless what the circumstances were? Say, for example, if I was to take 6 months out of my career, I've worked in my career for 25 years, so my experience is very relevant today, but 6 months is quite a large gap even in my sector. Do you think there's a stigma attached to people that do take time out?
I so badly want to say no, but that'd be a lie. Absolutely there is. Any gap in your CV, and there's anxiety for the individual who has the gap in their CV, and then there's questions raised by the people that are looking at them because they have a gap in their CV.
So a question around that then, because that's just got getting my brain going, and I like to provoke some thought process around this. So obviously, the last probably 20 years or so, we've seen so much more uplift of people taking gap years or going traveling, that they take secondments. So those that take secondments, and they go off and they have a sabbatical or whatever, are they seen as that's a positive element of taking a gap? And then you've got those taking mental health breaks. Have you seen a difference in all of this?
I think every single reason that people would take leave is seen differently. So like you say, yes, gap years, you're developing yourself, you're getting some experience, you're seeing the world. If you're taking a mental health break, whilst we all know that's the right thing to do, people who take mental health breaks will worry about being perceived as being somewhat weak or unable to withstand pressure, or that there's additional challenges then from there, and trying to work against that preconception is difficult. And same with mothers or fathers who take time to raise families, and you're out for maybe 10 years. I've spoken to one person who's out for 20 years, and are they only capable of doing first class math now because they were out for that length of time, or talking to babies, or nighttime routines and stuff? And it's not the case. And there's a sense of not feeling like you should put that on your CV if you've got a gap, to explain it, that it's okay to explain it with things that are seen to be achievements or personal development. And it's like being a stay-at-home parent or a carer for some reason has less value, which is not the case. I mean, there's a whole other wealth of skills that you're going to learn in those roles as well. But that's the fear. And that's when I spoke to people and at length about it from different backgrounds, different reasons for being out, that was the number one fear, is that they were going to be judged somehow as being incapable or lazy or weaker because they've chosen to do this thing, which in reality is a much more difficult decision to make than to come to work every day. Come to work is easy. Everyone expects you to do that. But staying at home and looking after somebody who's sick, or certainly raising small children, man, I have done that, and I haven't even done it full time. My husband and myself shared those roles, but we worked opposite shifts. It meant we didn't see each other for about 10 years, but the kids had somebody at home all the time, and that in itself was challenging. Somebody who has the capacity to make that decision and do something like that, kudos to them. That's the hardest job you'll ever do, as far as I can see,
Yeah. So how can organizations become so much more, because obviously things like DE and I are being spoken about so much. Obviously at GCS, we're complete advocates of it. We're trying to get the message out there. You're doing the same. There's a multitude of brilliant people that we've been engaging with over probably the last 12, 18 months that we've been doing this. How much more can organizations do or get involved with regards to expanding their DE and I awareness?
So there's the number one thing that any organization or company can do is tell people. You need to let people know. Something that I noticed even on my own personal LinkedIn over the last number of years is, as I did certain projects or got involved with certain groups, that minority reached out to me afterwards, and we made connections, and I got to know more people through that. But they did it because I was making a public declaration of my interest and support to whichever group it is. And you'll see things like, for example, in June when we have Pride Month, we see a lot of companies with their rainbow logos, and that's it. We don't see the actions that actually show that there's support.
I call that empty marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with returnship. If you're putting out job notices to people and you are a company that supports returnship and is going to help somebody gradually ease back into that role because of the talent that they have, then you need to state that it's open to returnships, that there is that support in place. You need to make sure that your applicants know that. That's the only way you're going to tap into it, because these applicants are looking for that. They are not entertaining the job applications that don't say they're going to be supported. And I've met people with 2-3 degrees that they've studied while they're at home caring and looking after kids and such. So they're still uber qualified, like disgustingly qualified, and they will not even look at the application if it doesn't say that they'll be supported as a returner into those roles. So there's that big gap there. If you don't tell people that you're open to something, then why would they come to you and look for it? You're the one that needs that talent. And then on the other side, for the returners looking back as well, don't be afraid to ask, because until companies learn that they need to publicize it and they need to be really vocal about the things that they're supporting, ask straight out, are they doing it? Because I know from talking to people as well that they've been surprised to find that certain companies do it. You'll find big companies have the capacity to do it. They can put a buddy in place maybe and support that part-time introduction of a role. And small companies as well may also find that funding wise, they can fund somebody coming into a role with they'll have a smaller budget in the beginning and ease into the full-time budget of a role as such from there. So it doesn't mean that you only have to look at the big multinationals to be able to get a job from there. It could be any company, but returners for sure pick and choose where they're going to go, because they know the value that they have in the market. We're only beginning to see it, and once my eyes were open to it, I'm like, I feel like I've opened up the gold person like an Indiana Jones movie, and nobody else noticed it yet,
Absolutely. So with regards to what you do, obviously you've got your day job. You like to be busy because you've gone and created all of this other wonderful situation as well for yourself. What is it that you do to help coach individuals or businesses? What sort of advice do people come to you about?
So on both parts, it's about trying to understand what they need to do next. And I try and put those pieces together as much as possible, whether it's speaking to companies and having them understand what they need to communicate, or putting them in touch with people that are looking for those roles, not just to fill the roles, but to understand the requirements from the individuals, and then vice versa. If companies don't understand what is needed to bring a returner on board, it's going to be quite different maybe from one person to the next, but flexibility is the main thing. The expectation would not be that you'd have a returner come into a role starting on Monday and go straight for a 40-hour working week from there, that there'll be a slow introduction. They haven't been in the workforce, working those standard hours for X amount of years or months, whichever it is from there. You need to give them a time to acclimatize to it. If they're working remotely, you need to help them build up the social network within the company. Then from there, they need to be buddied with people. They need to have the opportunity to continue to expand their training beyond what they have had so far, to top it up, to be able to, you know, especially when it comes to tech and anything in the tech sector, to just top it up and be familiar with what's happening now. But from what I've learned from the majority of people that have any kind of a tech qualification, it is just a top up. They're not starting again from scratch. The basics are still the same, and we've just made it faster or more scripted beyond that then from there. So I would put those two things together. But I try and get involved with as many different groups as possible. So beyond just the returnship, you know, I speak wherever I can. Clearly, I'm not afraid to talk. And a lot of what I talk about, I tend to not always talk about the technical subjects. There's any number of people out there that can talk about the technical subjects, and I can do it. But something that I know I do better is speak about how to get back into the workforce. I've returned from maternity leave, and you know, my financial situation at the time wouldn't have allowed me to take time off of work any longer than that. And thankfully, my children were all healthy and they didn't need any additional care. We had a thing that worked at home, like say between the two of us in opposite routines. But I have had to come back after maternity leave, and it is terrifying. And you feel like you don't remember anything from there. And I can understand that much. Something else that I do is I get heavily involved in mentoring. And I guess I had intended to take on one or two, and I'm up to about 26, 27. That's since COVID started, but I love it. You will never learn more about people in general, their needs, their requirements, and how businesses run and succeed and don't, if you don't get involved in mentoring. So I spend a lot of time in that, and when I public speak. So I've public spoken with people like Coding Black Females, and obviously with Mentors, with BB Week, with WISIS, which is Women in Cybersecurity. It's a global group, lots of different groups and such like that. Cisco Women as well, and Bank of Ireland soon. But all of it is around just, it should be entertaining, but helping people within those diverse communities understand their value is beyond the tick box, and understanding how to ask for that, how to demand that because it's certainly as a woman in tech, it's my immediate thought often when it comes to being involved in things is, are they asking me just because I'm a woman? Or are they asking me because I'm actually bringing value to this role or this event or whatever it is, because of the things that I've done in the past, the qualifications that I have, or, you know, all of those things. So that's what comes up, I'd say, in about 90% of mentoring conversations, whether it's with a man or a woman, where they're from in the world or what their background is. That's what comes up the most, is understanding that they're important beyond that tick box, and how to ensure they communicate that when they're looking for jobs, and they demand what they deserve when they're looking to make career changes or move forward in their career with the company they're in and things like that. And every single one that has learned that has seen a turnaround in the approach from both them and the companies that they're speaking to.
Okay, so another thought process, if there is somebody that's taken time out to look after a sick relative, they've had 12 months out, but they had a real high profile career, they were going somewhere, they were flying high, etc. previously. Most application processes tend to be online these days. What can someone practically do to actually get themselves noticed and get their resume or CV, depending on which part of the world you're in, to the forefront of somebody to say, hey, I've still got great skills here, please notice me?
Network. Oh, I hate networking. One of the things that I used to hate the most before COVID, and one of the things I loved about when we were locked down, pre-COVID, when I used to go to networking events because it was the right thing to do, my feet would be physically trying to go in the opposite direction. I was never comfortable doing it. Great when I'm there, but getting there was different. And when, obviously, within COVID, we're doing all that remotely, and suddenly the world is a smaller place and we meet everybody.
Yeah.
What I mean by network is not, you don't have to worry about going to those events where you do like speed dating, where you have a minute to tell people about who you are and what you do. Get involved in groups that you are interested in. Very first one I ever got involved in was the Ladies of London Hacker Society. I'm obviously not in London. But the office is in Dublin and I'm based in Wexford, but I was in London with a colleague of mine one weekend and we went to one of their events. Best fun ever. And I've made some contacts through that event. And we think we were building like virtual hosts or something at the event, but I made some contacts through that event that got me through lockdown, and they're people that I would really respect the opinions of now, and I've met through them when I'm making decisions about whether it's my career or things that I want to be involved in. They're the people that I would speak to and I would ask and I would get recommendations from and tell me that, go on when I need to be told that. Absolutely, because they're my community. And it's the same with Winters and with Voices and with all of the other groups. And from there, for me, the whole world opened up when it came to getting involved in those. And you can do that from your couch. You don't have to go physically. It's always nice. Some people prefer to meet people in person. I much prefer it now than I did back then. But yeah, definitely that. And if you're coming back into the workforce and you want to ask people straight up questions like, what am I going to get paid? Or how hard is the work? Is it really a 40-hour week? Am I going to be expected to work weekends? If I'm working for an international company, what kind of hours will I work? What are the colleagues like? Blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff. You're going to get straight up answers to those if you're talking to people within your own communities. So like say, even the ones like say that I'm involved. The Cyber Women Ireland is obviously an Irish one, but we welcome people from all over. And then BB Week is an international one. Winters is global for mentoring. Any of those kind of groups, if you reach out to and get involved, you'll be paired up with people. Women Tech, I think, is doing a mentorship. They are, I think. Do you hear that? I'm mentoring in it. So they're doing a global mentorship program at the moment now too. And it's a great opportunity to meet other people in a relaxed format where you can just talk about the weather if that's what you want to do. But you can straight up ask those questions. That's what I would recommend for anybody.
Fantastic. And very quickly, because we are running out of time, I imagine people are running off and getting sandwiches, etc., in their lunch breaks. But it seems to be quite a commonality in all of these conversations I have is the mentoringship and life coaching comes up time and time again. How powerful is actually you as an individual that somebody should look at life coaching or mentoringships?
I think everybody should do it. When I signed up to be a mentor, I thought, what have I got to offer anybody? So I signed up to be a mentee as well. And I thought, I'm quite happy with where I'm at. I don't really have any questions or where I'm going. So wrong. I didn't realize how many questions I had till we sat down and started talking about it. And in most of the cases of mentorship with me, people will come to me and they might say that they want to develop something technical or they have specific questions. And it almost always goes in a different direction that is much more value to the individual, whether it's about their personal development or understanding how to negotiate a salary increase or just asking questions about, I don't feel like this is right the way I'm being treated. Would you put up with this? Those kind of things. It's kind of like having a bestie that you can tap into who actually has lived that life before you so that they know exactly how it should work and what you should do. And in so many places, especially across the DEI groups, there's so many of them that are offering mentorship, so you can be mentored within your DEI group or not. Like say I've mentored men, women across the world, local, in person, remotely, all the different kinds. I find it fascinating, love it, can't get enough of it. But if you do something like that, I don't think anyone ever walks away from it without feeling like they've got some kind of a value, and definitely a better sense of what happens next comes out of it.
Yeah, I agree. Jenny, I could talk to you for ages. I think both of you and I can make conversation out of mist, which is probably very dangerous for a live broadcast. But if anybody out there that is watching and you are wanting to have a mentor, if you're returning back to work, please contact Jennifer directly on LinkedIn. You can find her there. And I'm sure that she'd be more than happy to actually get engaged. But Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
You're very welcome. That's been great fun.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.